Hey there, thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday afternoon. Great to see you today. I'm Veronica Cruz. Welcome to Scripps News Live. We begin this hour with more on the devastation in Maui. The total number of deaths now standing at 111, and that number is expected to climb significantly in the coming days. The grim task of carefully searching the disaster zone and identifying victims is proving to be difficult. Police confirming children are among the dead, but so far have only named 5 of the 111 victims. Maui County's police chief says handling the crisis with care has been crucial.
We have to be respectful because we got one chance to do this. We got one chance to do this right. And with all due respect, we haven't made notifications, and I am not going to say how we found people when I haven't even told their families. How do I do that?
We're learning more about the lack of warning before the wildfires broke out last week. The Scripps News investigative team has been examining Hawaii's unique emergency alert system. It includes outdoor warning sirens that we have confirmed were never activated. Now, had those sirens gone off, they would have been within earshot of many people who were in the path of that firestorm. Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpster joins us now live from Washington. Patrick, what have you learned so far?
Well, Veronica, after the 2011 tsunami in Japan, Hawaii built one of the world's biggest alert systems for disasters. Yet when wildfire broke out, many were caught by complete surprise. As wildfires erupted in the town of Lahaina, residents say they were left unaware of the approaching danger and didn't have enough warning to get out.
My phone got one ping as I was getting into my truck, and that was the only evacuation notice we had. That warning was completely useless.
A spokesman for Hawaii's Emergency Management Agency told us evacuation notices were sent to cell phones, television, and radio, but power outages and spotty cell phone coverage may have kept people from receiving those alerts. Residents of Maui, where Lahaina is located, also say they never heard the island's outdoor emergency warning siren sound.
No sirens went off, nothing. It was fight or flight with no warning whatsoever.
The Hawaii Emergency Management spokesman confirms to Scripps News that the sirens were never activated as hurricane-force winds quickly spread the fire. He tells us it's not yet clear why the alarms were not used. And while this decimated community awaits answers, Scripps News took a closer look at Hawaii's sirens and found they're part of one of the biggest outdoor warning systems in the entire country. There are more than 400 sirens across the state. The alarms are meant to alert people outdoors that an emergency is happening and to turn on the radio or TV for information. These sirens were installed on Hawaii with tsunamis in mind. Hawaii's governor says that may be why no one triggered them during the fire.
Sometimes sirens send people up mountain, and going up the mountain during a fire can be problematic. Going up the mountain when there's a wave is what you have to do.
But sirens are for use in all emergencies, including wildfires, as explained in this video posted to the state's Emergency Management YouTube page.
We also use sirens for hurricanes, brush fires, flooding, lava, hazmat conditions.
Even if these sirens were eventually consumed by the raging fires, why did they not go off as the danger approached? When we look at a map of the sirens in Lahaina and the range at which they're audible and compare it to a map of the fire damage, it reveals the sirens should have been loud enough for people outside to hear in the majority of the burned areas.
I do believe this was a failure.
Adam Jakimowicz studies emergency management at the George Washington University in Washington, D.C.
Sirens represent a trusted authority. When we're left to our own, we generally minimize risk. So sometimes we need cues from others to help us put that risk into perspective.
Had people heard the sirens, they might have thought there is a real danger here.
Absolutely, yes.
The Hawaii wildfires are the latest deadly event in the U.S. identified by Scripps News, where outdoor sirens never sounded. Our investigation this past spring found many of this nation's outdoor sirens are not properly maintained and no longer work. But in Hawaii, sirens are tested every month, as one visitor vacationing in Maui earlier this year captured on camera.
It is Tuesday at 11:39, the alarm goes off.
Our investigation of sirens across the U.S. also found human factors can contribute to the failure of these alert systems. As we discovered in Rolling Fork, Mississippi, where a tornado killed 13 people earlier this year, local leaders may struggle with when and even how to activate sirens in the chaos of a sudden disaster. Did they have any warning that the tornado was coming?
No, sir. No, sir. The warning across the street, they ain't never go off.
And mistakes do happen, as Hawaii itself learned in 2018. That was when Hawaii's Emergency Management Agency blasted out an alert about an incoming ballistic missile by mistake.
One thing I do believe the investigators should look at is how that 2018 event impacted this event. Potentially, maybe some additional safeguards were put in place that made it actually just a little more difficult or added an extra step to sound that alarm.
Hawaii's Attorney General is now leading an investigation into the state's response to the wildfires, including examining why the sirens stayed silent during what's now become one of the deadliest wildfires in U.S. history. The governor says they will also be taking a look at whether broken sirens were an issue. But again, it's hard to see how that would be the case when you have hundreds of sirens and they are tested monthly. Again, we know that none of the sirens went off. We don't know exactly why not. Veronica.
Just so sad. All right, Patrick Terpstra live for us there in Washington. Patrick, thank you. So we all know that Maui has a long road ahead. Monetary donations are going to be crucial to survivors struggling to piece their lives back together again. Here at Scripps News, we're supporting relief efforts through the Scripps Maui Wildfire Relief Campaign. Now, if you would like to help, all you have to do is scan that QR code that you see right there on your screen in order to donate to relief efforts. Any amount will make a difference for the people there. Tomorrow night, our coverage on the Maui wildfires will continue with a Scripps News special report. We'll take a closer look at the devastation and the plans to rebuild. Again, you can tune in tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on Scripps News. Still to come on Scripps News Live, Fulton County DA Fani Willis aiming for a March trial date for former President Trump, but it likely will not happen. We're going to explain why next. Also, don't forget you can always count on Scripps News for all of your news throughout the primetime hours, beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Behind the nightmares of war, hide simple motivations.
An immediate concern is theft of grain.
Scripps News and our partners at Bellingcat follow the costs and profits of the war in Ukraine, tracking the hidden network of Russian cargo ships, smuggling precious resources from occupied lands. Scripps News and Bellingcat present Russia's Ghost Fleet, Sunday night at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News.
Attention all seniors. You can now get up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, including your credit card debt, with no medical exam, starting at less than $1 a day.
Oh, honey, your dad and I can't stop talking about this baby that's coming.
We've also been thinking a lot about our future, and no matter what, we want to make sure we aren't leaving you and your family with any of our debts.
Just last week, we read that the price of a funeral can be $8,000 or more.
Wow, Jeff and I definitely would not have the money to pay for that.
And that's just a funeral. But you don't have to worry. We called, and with one phone call, we were eligible for $50,000 for our funeral and final expenses.
Well, that's great, but don't you need to take a medical exam to qualify? You and Mom have some health issues.
No, there's no medical exam, and we were able to get coverage right over the phone.
And our rates can never be increased, our benefits can never be decreased, and our coverage can never be canceled.
I'm so glad you made that call.
Don't leave loved ones with your debt. Call 800-339-7996 now and see if you qualify for up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, starting at less than $1 a day. There's no medical exam, and you can be approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. There's no obligation. Call 800-339-7996 now. There's no paperwork, no hidden fees, and no waiting periods. And you can start coverage right over the phone, starting at less than $1 a day. Call 800-339-7996. That's 800-339-7996. 800-339-7996.
Law enforcement calls it house stealing, when cyber thieves transfer the title to your home out of your name to take out fraudulent loans or even sell it. How do you protect yourself? Get triple lock protection from Home Title Lock. Our triple lock protection gives you 1, 24/7 monitoring, 2, urgent alerts of any title changes, and 3, title restoration help from our team of experts. Do you know if your title is safe? Check your title status now at HometitleLock.com.
One way to avoid expensive car repair bills is to be a race car driver. The other is Endurance.
Endurance saved me more than $7,000.
Without Endurance, breakdowns can cost thousands. With Endurance, you're covered.
Endurance covers nearly every car on the road. Plus,
you pick the mechanic you trust.
act now for $300 off any plan, plus a year of elite benefits and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call 1-855-588-2580 now.
It is 10 minutes after the hour now. Want to get you to Georgia, where Fulton County DA Fani Willis has requested former President Trump and 18 others be put on trial on March 4th, 2024. And that would be one day before Super Tuesday and 14 primaries across the United States. Willis also wants to schedule arraignments the week of September 5th. The identities of 26 Georgia grand jury members in the meantime who indicted the former president on Monday night might be circulating on social media. Names, photographs, even some home addresses have been posted. There have been anonymous posts calling for violence against them. Scripps News has not independently verified any of this information. But in Fulton County, Georgia, when someone is indicted, the names of the jurors are included in the indictment, but no other personal information. National political correspondent Avajoy Burnett has been following all of this for us and joins us now live from Washington. So, Avajoy, we know that the DA was receiving threats. We know that she was asking for extra security, not only for herself, but also for members of the grand jury. What more can you tell us about security measures at this point and about this information that's been posted online?
Hi, good afternoon, Veronica. Well, this is something that so many people were wondering about when we found out that it is a part of Georgia's process to share the names of those grand jurors. So at this point, we know that the names of some of these grand jurors have been posted on far-right websites, along with potential social media accounts associated with those grand jury members. And at this point, we don't know if these are the actual grand jurors. There's a possibility that some of these names could also be of other people who live in the state of Georgia who have similar names. As you mentioned, it is a part of the process to have these grand jurors' names out there, but their addresses have not been shared by the government, the state of Georgia. So these are folks who are allegedly going out and trying to find other identifying factors and putting them out there. And this could potentially put these grand jurors in harm's way. We spoke with a defense attorney who lives and works there in the state of Georgia, and he said this could potentially be a chilling effect for people who may be coming in the future to participate in a very vital part of the judicial process.
Unfortunately, we're seeing some fringe individuals make very poor decisions in contacting and harassing these grand jurors. I guarantee any law enforcement member who can put their hands on someone harassing grand jurors is gonna execute justice aggressively. Judges, that's touching the third rail. You don't mess with the jury, and the consequences will be swift and firm.
And Veronica, we are going to be reaching out to the sheriff's office to get an idea of if they have any potential suspects at this point. But as you can imagine, this is a situation where people could be posting these things online anonymously. So it could be a challenge for officials to track everyone down.
That's right, Avajoy. And I understand in the meantime, there are also reports that a woman's been arrested for threatening to kill Judge Tanya Chutkan in a separate case also involving former President Donald Trump. What more can you tell us on this front?
Well, this is a case out of Georgia. The lady's name is Abigail Shry, and she allegedly called the judge's chambers here in Washington, D.C., and left a quite alarming message for her, using racial slurs and threatening that she will kill her. Now, this person has now been taken into custody. Of course, Judge Chutkan, she's the one who's overseeing the January 6th case here in Washington, D.C., where the former president has been charged. He faces 4 charges in that particular case. You know, there are 4 cases revolving around the former president. There's so many of his supporters who are really ardent supporters and who are maybe taking additional steps in an attempt to try to protect the president, the former president. But at the same point, it's crossing a line here where now a judge has been threatened. This person allegedly called her chambers and left a really alarming message. Veronica.
All right, Avajoy Burnett live for us there in Washington. Thank you so much. So in less than a week from now, the 2024 Republican presidential candidates will be battling it out in their first primary debate. Several big names, including former Vice President Mike Pence and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, are planning on attending, but we still don't know if former President Donald Trump will be there, despite his indictment Monday in Georgia. This is the 4th time he's been indicted this year. The former president still leading Republican polls right now. Congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed joining us now live from Washington with the details here. So Nate, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis still a distant second in the polls behind Trump. I understand that his strategy in terms of this debate has been leaked online. What are you learning?
Right. Well, this strategy was posted by an outside group which has been working with the super PAC that has been supporting Ron DeSantis. This strategy details a couple of ways in which Ron DeSantis should conduct himself in next week's debate. It's worth noting that the New York Times was the first to discover this. It has since been deleted from that consultant's website, but I want to detail an excerpt of that now. There are 4 overarching goals that were posted in this internal campaign document. There are 4, they call them basic must-dos. The first one, attacking Joe Biden in the media 3 to 5 times. The second, stating GRD, which we believe stands for Governor Ron DeSantis's positive vision 2 to 3 times. The third, hammering Vivek Ramaswamy in a response. He is polling just behind Florida Governor DeSantis. And the fourth, defending Donald Trump in absentia in response to a Chris Christie attack. Now, worth noting that last one, especially because Trump is not expected to necessarily be in attendance. DeSantis still a distant second behind former President Trump in the polls.
Really interesting. So if former President Trump is not there and doesn't participate in this debate, what will the focus be for the other candidates? How are they going to be handling themselves?
Well, look, DeSantis in many ways, Trump in many ways will be the elephant in the room. The fact that he won't be there, if he is there, he could be a cause for major address from other Republican candidates, even those who aren't polling in statistically significant numbers. Take a listen to Asa Hutchinson earlier this week saying how his back and forth would go if former President Trump is in fact there next week. Take a listen.
If he is there, I intend to hold him accountable. I intend to ask the tough questions as well, because he would be disastrous as a second-term president, conducting his revenge tour, and he would also cause us to lose up and down the ticket in the 2024 election.
And as you can see here, Asa Hutchinson not even polling statistically significantly, less than 1%. Right now in the lead, former President Donald Trump holding strong at 53%. That's over half of Republican voters who'd like to see him become the nominee once again. Ron DeSantis holding firm at 16%. Vivek Ramaswamy growing somewhat to 11% nationwide. Pretty much everyone else polling in the single digits. So it's really going to be a race, if former President Trump is not in that room next week, for these candidates to differentiate themselves, make clear why their message is a forward-looking one that can somehow beat former President Trump. It likely will require Republican voters coalescing around a single candidate in order to defeat the former president. Those numbers, 53% of Republican voters saying they'd support him once again in this upcoming primary election. Extremely strong, especially for a candidate like former President Trump.
And Nate, I know that you have to qualify for this upcoming debate on Wednesday, and you just showed us a graphic there with 7 different candidates outside of the former president. Are all 8 going to be debating, or 7?
Well, 8 candidates have qualified so far. 9, if you count the mayor of Miami, Francisco Suarez. One of the candidates who has not yet qualified for the debate is former Congressman Will Hurd. A number of those candidates, though, will be on that debate stage. There are some fairly stringent requirements from the Republican Party in terms of who can participate in that debate. They have to sign a loyalty pledge to support the eventual nominee. Not exactly clear that someone like Chris Christie, who has qualified for that debate, will actually sign that pledge. At the same time, a number of them have hit the polling requirements and the fundraising requirements that are necessary in order to be up on that stage.
All right, Nathaniel Reed reporting live from Washington for us. Nate, thank you so much. Still to come on Scripps News Live, more students are skipping college and entering the workforce straight out of high school. We're going to explore why next.
I was having problems with my legs and my feet.
I suffered a lot of cramps, swelling.
I would dread going up and down steps.
Tingling in my legs due to circulation issues.
The aches and pains have just continued to increase.
Did you know if you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, or are over 40, your leg aches and pains could be from poor circulation? Revitive can help reduce leg aches and pains, swelling, and cramps. Revitive uses breakthrough technology to get your calf muscles pumping like a second heart to increase blood flow, reducing leg aches and pains, cramps, or swollen feet and ankles.
Plus, it's drug-free.
The cramping was terrible, and I don't get that anymore. Thank you, Revitive.
Revitive is FDA cleared and clinically proven to increase oxygen-rich blood flow during use. The smart stimulation works so well, over 3 million people use Revitive.
As a firefighter, I'm constantly on my feet. I wish I had known about Revitive a lot earlier. It would have made a huge difference in really who I am today.
Revitive has given me a better quality of life because I am living without pain.
Revitive reduces leg pains 2 times more than exercise alone in just 6 weeks.
We want to take walks. We want to do more social activities, just the typical things in life that I did not feel well enough before Revitive that I was able to do.
Now, Revitive is regenerizing my legs and making me feel like, let's do more.
Go to Revitive.com now to learn how Revitive can help reduce leg aches and pains, swelling, and cramps.
The doctor said go for it, and I'm in the best shape in terms of my legs and my ankles and my feet than I've ever been.
Try Revitive. You will see the difference. It works. It worked for me.
Get the most out of life with Revitive. Visit Revitive.com. That's REVITIVE.com. Or call
1-800-317-6641. That's 1-800-317-6641 today. Or visit Revitive.com. Order now.
Female hair thinning is so common. That's where hers comes in. You can take their free hair quiz, provide some info about your health history, and a medical provider can recommend a personalized treatment plan just for you. Take the hair quiz today at forhers.com.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
For over 100 years, this light has shined. Through generations of Americans, this light carries on.
Reporting from Ukraine, Scripps News.
A beacon of the free American press. Reporting the facts, telling the whole story. This light illuminates, it informs, and now shines even brighter. Scripps News.
All right, 23 minutes after the hour, time now to get a quick check of Wall Street. The Dow Jones right now is down about 63 points. S&P is down as well. It has shed about 2 points, and the NASDAQ has dropped 33 points. We're going to keep an eye on it for you. Student loan repayments are going to restart again, and it's going to be impacting millions of Americans. National correspondent Chris Conti spoke with borrowers who say that they are worried about this additional financial stress.
As the restart date for federal student loan repayments nears, financial experts I've been talking to say now is the time to prepare. For millions of borrowers, though, there is still plenty of financial uncertainty ahead. In cities and towns across the country right now, there are millions of Americans waiting to to see what life looks like after federal student loan repayments restart.
I really just love students, helping them grow.
Among them is physical education teacher Morgan Covert. We sat down with the 43-year-old recently to talk about the $100,000 she owes in student loan debt.
I'll be in the grave before I finish paying it off. Like, I'll die with student loan debt. That's really how I feel.
Covert estimates that when federal loan repayments restart this fall, her payments will be upwards of $600 a month.
My children will take priority over being able to pay that debt.
The Department of Education estimates 43 million people in this country owe a collective $1.6 trillion in federal student loan debt. On average, borrowers have around $37,000 in debt. Many haven't made a monthly payment since March of 2020 when President Trump paused repayments and are worried about their finances when payments come due at the end of August.
I hate it. I just want it gone. I have been paying back my student loans since February of 2016, so going on 8 years. And this is my master's degree from Concordia University.
Shante Young owes around $74,000 in federal student loans. She also estimates her monthly payments will be around $800.
So when you're talking about $800 a month, yeah, I'm gonna have to cut down on some things. I don't really do a lot of things, but like stuff I like to do. I like to go out with friends. I like to go out to eat. I like to go to the movies. I like to shop. So, you know, I will have to definitely cut those things out for now because I will not be able to afford that.
At this point, financial experts say it's important to start planning. Interest for federal student loans will start occurring again on September 1st. Repayments will begin in October. Experts say start refamiliarizing yourself with information now, when your payments are due, what that amount might be, and use September as a dry run to see what it's like without that money in your monthly budget.
I think the thing that I struggle with is that I've worked in the public sector as an educator, a public educator for almost 20 years, and I don't qualify for any of the assistance programs.
As for Morgan Covert, like many Americans, she's trying to prepare now.
I'm getting ready to take on a part-time job, which my thought is that will offset the cost.
All in hopes of being ready when the time comes for repayments to begin. Chris Conti, Scripps News, Ellicott City, Maryland.
And I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. Thank you so much for joining us. For the audience leaving us, your local programming is up next. And remember, you can always check us out online at scripsnews.com. Now, if you are staying with us, we have much more news headed your way right here on Scripps News Live. Coming up next, a Kansas newspaper back in business after police raid the newsroom.
Oh, we're celebrating.
We're going to hear more from the owner of the Marion County Record after a prosecutor ordered authorities to return everything they took during that raid. We'll have that story for you next. We'll be right back.
If you're living with diabetes, this is the sound that could change your life.
Great news for people living with diabetes. Now you can wear a continuous glucose monitor and eliminate routine finger sticks. The days of repeated, painful finger sticks are over.
Call 800-820-9953.
If you use insulin daily to manage your condition, a continuous glucose monitor could help you control your diabetes and reduce or eliminate those painful finger sticks. If you have Medicare or private insurance, US Med can deliver a CGM system right to your door. And if you qualify, there may be little or no cost to you. Shipping is free, and we'll even bill your insurer directly. Call now to get your continuous glucose monitoring system so you can take control of your diabetes and get back to enjoying life.
Call 800-820-9953. That's 800-820-9953.
Meet Pair Eyewear, the only glasses brand that lets you change your glasses like you change your clothes. Simply snap on a top frame and you're ready to go. Now you can customize a look for every outfit, every occasion, and every day. With hundreds of designs to choose from, Pair makes it easy to match your style and build a collection you'll love. You can even snap on a sun top to instantly turn your pair into sunglasses. Start building your collection today at paireyewear.com.
Hey, I'm inside the bank. Where's the $500? What? I don't have much time. Where's the $500?
I said drop your bank, not rob your bank.
What?
I said drop your bank and get Dave, the banking app.
Yeah, I thought this was a lot of work for $500.
You think?
I mean, I would love it if you could come get me.
Oh, no. Oh, she going to jail.
Hello?
There's an easier way you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less when you download Dave.
Hey there, welcome to Scripps News Live. Great to see you today. I'm Veronica Cruz. Let's get you caught up right now in the day's top stories. After Trump was indicted a fourth time by DA Fani Willis in Georgia for possible election interference, a far-right website has now shared purported names, photos, and addresses of some grand jury members. Some have been saying anonymous posters are calling for violence against those jurors. Still not clear whether the published names are actual grand jurors or people who just have the same name. A federal appeals court ruling in Louisiana will restrict access to the abortion pill mifepristone. Judges are ruling the drug can remain on the market for now. However, it would no longer be available by mail or by telemedicine. The pill will remain available until the U.S. Supreme Court rules on the Justice Department's appeal of the latest decision. Maui County's emergency management director is defending his decision not to activate sirens as wildfires spread. Herman Andaya believes people who heard them would have evacuated to higher ground towards the flames. The number of confirmed deaths now stands at 111. The healing process is definitely not the same for everyone in Maui. Some people are gazing at ashes, trying to remember what used to be, but others are blowing off steam in a more familiar way. National correspondent Dan Grossman spoke to people in both groups.
In some respects, there was a stark dichotomy of emotions here in Lahaina today. On one hand, now that the Lahaina bypass, the main road that leads in and out of this burnt town, is open, residents who lost nearly everything are able to see the ruins for the first time. And others in this town were able to find respite for the first time since the fires came through last Tuesday.
Even under openly blue skies, there was a cloud of sorrow that hovered over Lahaina on this day.
It's just overwhelming right now. I feel for my neighbors, you know, I pray for their safety.
From a perch above the dust and ash, Wayne Matsuda was able to see what was left of his family's 56-year home for the first time. It was just one story of the hundreds that were told as many survivors took their first step toward closure now that Lahaina's main road is open.
You know, it's one thing to see what you see on the news. It's another to actually be here and have it just hits home, the magnitude of everything, you know, when you're actually here and you remember what it was and what it is now in front of you. It's just hard to comprehend, you know.
And while some, like Wayne, allowed themselves to sit in the waves of emotion, others let them wash to shore.
We're gonna go surf with pizzas in our hand.
It might seem odd that in the midst of what is happening around Maui, people could even find the time or energy to do something like surf. But for anyone who knows what it means to grow up here,
I think I like it how you can just glide over the water.
They know this is exactly what some in the community, particularly their kids, could use.
Our son is angry, and he's confused, and he's 8 years old and doesn't know how to express himself. And so being in the water and being with his friends, he's actually opening up to his friends more than adults right now about his loss. So any way that he can bond with his friends and be with other kids is actually going to help him process this.
Tamara and Kevin DeProsa lost their home in the Lahaina fire, But rather than return to their source of grief, they and other survivors of the Maui fires chose to paddle toward their communal source of healing.
You know, it just makes you feel alive and wash away all your worries and all the negativity. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's super needed, man. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
They know it may not be a cure,
Delightful.
but if it gets their kids saying words that haven't been heard around here in far too long, they know it's a step in the right direction.
It gives us as a community and parents a chance to bond with other parents too, and talk story and cry together and laugh together.
Tomorrow, they will return to the long road that awaits, knowing no matter how hard the tide tries to drag them under, they'll come up for air once more.
We're here, and I believe we will survive this. Can't say that it's not as bad as it sounds, because it is, overwhelming ordeal that we all have to come to terms with. But I just want people to not give up hope and realize that we're still here and we're not going anywhere.
Dan Grossman, Scripps News, Maui.
New York State and New York City have long been sanctuaries for migrants, but now that more than 100,000 asylum seekers have made their way to the city, the mayor has said it is at a breaking point. New York City wants other parts of the state to share in the burden, which now has the governor pushing back. National correspondent Axel Tercios joins us now live from New York. Axel, seeing Governor Kathy Hochul and New York City Mayor Eric Adams at odds with each other is pretty unusual. What exactly is happening here?
Well, Veronica, we do know that in a letter, a lawyer for Governor Kathy Hochul criticized New York City Mayor Eric Adams' handling of the migrant situation here in the city. We know that the letter comes as response after a list of requests made by the city. The letter says the city failed to accept several offers of assistance made by the state, offers of assistance including the use of more than a dozen state-run facilities here in the city. The state says the city could have been converted into shelters to house more than 3,000 asylum seekers. So tensions seem to be growing between the mayor and the governor, but the mayor is insisting their relationship is not severed.
People who depict that letter as a brutal attack against us, that's how people want to see the governor and I fight. That's not going to happen. I like her. She likes me.
So, Veronica, the mayor also took a chance to thank the governor for what he calls the governor's analysis of the situation, and also saying that his administration will sit down with Hochul's administration to work together on this crisis.
All right, Axel.
Down to show why we could not use those places. She stated that the invoicing of getting the invoices in were taking too long. We want to sit down and show her why it took that long, and to come up with some ideas of, we are really pleased with the relationship we have with this governor.
The Hochul's administration also believes the mayor here in New York City is now prioritizing the migrants, the work permits application so that they can start working. But the mayor is saying that they have asked in several occasions the federal government to expedite the process so the migrants can start working here and making a new life in the Big Apple. The City Hall is saying that more than 101,000 asylum seekers have arrived in the Big Apple since the spring of 2022. Veronica.
I'm sure there have been a lot of issues and a pretty difficult situation really across the board for everyone. Axel Tercios in New York City with an update. Axel, thank you. So it was a long-time American tradition to attend high school and then go off to college. But these days, there is another temptation to take a job right out of high school, especially in low-income communities. National correspondent Matt Pearl traveled to Indiana, where educators have been trying to change all of that.
We begin this story.
That is so close.
In the same place we'll end it.
No.
A college classroom where a group of children spend their first week of summer break.
We're all doing the same thing.
They're at robotics camp. They're turning Lego blocks into computerized trucks. And they're part of a solution to a national problem.
En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo. Amén.
Karen Camargo knows the camp.
Okay.
Her son Tomas went the last 4 summers. And Camargo knows her children.
I love to talk about them. Do you have the whole night to stay?
Camargo is from Brazil. Her now husband is from Argentina. Her twins, Tomas and Maria, were born in Mexico.
Every Friday we have adoration.
They all moved to Columbus, Indiana, with education in mind.
How soon did you realize that you wanted them to go to college?
Well, since I was pregnant. It's the priority in our life for them.
Camargo wants college for her children.
We see it in Indiana, we see it across the nation.
Chris Lowry wants it for the children of Indiana.
The value proposition of higher education is being called into question.
He's the new head of the state's Commission for Higher Education. Both see college as the most reliable path to a financially stable life, even as fewer children choose it. In the fall of 2011, an estimated 20 million American high school graduates enrolled in college. In the decades since, that number has fallen every single year.
Affordability, quality, career relevance, we see a lot of stories regarding those things.
Data shows that between Camargo's generation and her children's, the middle class in America has gotten smaller. The largest group falling out is high school graduates who don't continue to college.
It goes across race, ethnicity, gender, and so I think it places a challenge on higher education to be responsive to that.
In Indiana, they've searched within communities for trusted advocates.
This is Columbus, Indiana.
In Columbus, that's Mariana Petralia.
Would you like to go to the community?
She's one of the state's Padres Estrellas, or star parents.
It's super hard if you do not speak the language, how to make friends, how to understand the school process.
Is it tempting for someone who's in high school who can make $15, $20 an hour doing something to say, well, why do I need to go to college?
Yeah, they tell us sometimes, I'm working, I'm doing money, it's okay.
Whatever the barrier, Petralia and individuals across Indiana work to clear it, which leads us to camp.
Appreciate you being here.
The Latino Lego Robotics Camp takes place on a college campus. It teaches a lucrative skill. Petralia champions it.
You can run extra programs.
Tomas volunteers at it, all while his path continues.
He's going to high school. It's a new chapter of his life. We are very proud of him.
Each team will have 3 minutes.
We end this story where we began. It's the final day of the week-long camp.
Well done, well done.
The children show their skills to their parents. The parents take videos and photos. They smile because they see an attainable path to a universal hope.
I think the most joy for parents is seeing your kids happy. This gives us peace in our heart.
In Columbus, Indiana, I'm Matt Pearl.
42 minutes after the hour now, I want to get you to some business news. Walmart is saying that sales are booming just a day after Target announced that its sales were down. Walmart's second quarter sales were 6.4% higher than last year. Online sales rose 24% and profits were up 6.7%. While Target has lowered expectations for the rest of the year, Walmart is upgrading its forecast. Walmart is selling more groceries than Target, which makes it more resilient to economic ups and downs. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, seized but not silenced. That is the statement a Kansas paper is making on its first day back in business after police raided the newsroom. We'll have the details. And a reminder right here, you can always find our stories and much more online. Feel free to check us out. The address is scripsnews.com, also on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and on Threads. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Kirk Kaiser, and did you know the average funeral costs around $10,000? And if you don't have enough insurance to cover funeral costs, credit card debt, and other expenses, your family is going to get stuck with the bill. Don't let that happen. Call right now. And if you're over 50, you can get up to $30,000 in affordable life insurance, and your acceptance is guaranteed. That's right. If you're over 50, you can't be turned down for this insurance, regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam and no health questions. Your rate will never go up. Your coverage will never go down. And rates start as low as $5 a week. Your coverage begins as soon as your application is received. Don't wait until it's too late.
Just call 800-760-7793.
Coverage is guaranteed regardless of your health and cannot be canceled without your approval. Don't leave your family with a huge bill for your funeral. With one fast and easy call, get up to $30,000 in affordable life insurance to help cover funeral expenses and credit card debt, and maybe even leave something for your kids and your grandkids. Remember, if you're over 50, you can't be turned down, regardless of your health. There's no medical exam and no health questions. Best of all, your rates start as low as $5 a week, and your rate will never increase. Nothing is more important than family. So don't leave them with a lot of bills to pay when you're gone. Don't leave your family with a lot of bills to pay for your funeral. Call right now. Acceptance is guaranteed. Call right now.
Call now. Call 800-760-7793. That's 800-760-7793.
When a cyber thief transfers the title of your home out of your name, it's a race against time to stop the theft of your hard-earned equity.
Many people don't know this has happened until long after it's done.
You as the homeowner think you still own a house. 3 months later, you start getting foreclosure notices and you realize you've got 4 mortgages on your house that you didn't even know existed.
So when's the last time you checked on the title to your home? Find out if you're already a victim at HomeTitleLock.com.
Get customizable furniture at Joybird.com that complements your art, your green thumb, or just you. Save up to 40% off select bestsellers. Plus, get free design services at Joybird.com.
There's a better way to begin your mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Rush.
Get the stories that will shape each day,
Definitely a lot of folks talking about this.
so you can get on with yours. Morning Rush, weekday mornings starting at 7, 6 Central, only on Scripps News.
And a quick reminder right here, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call on our Scripps News viewer hotline toll free. That number is on your screen right now. It's 1-833-4-SCRIPPS. Feel free to share your comments and your story ideas. So he was the M of A&M Records. Jerry Moss has died at the age of 88. He and Herb Alpert ran the record company that for 25 years delivered one big album after another. We're talking about albums like Frampton Comes Alive and Carole King's Tapestry. A&M's roster included Janet Jackson, Soundgarden, The Carpenters, Sheryl Crow, and Herb Alpert himself. Moss and Alpert were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006. Seized but not silenced. It's what a Kansas paper has been saying in its first weekly issue after Friday's police raid. Authorities will return all items to the Marion County Record, and that's because a prosecutor revoked the search warrant, saying there wasn't enough evidence to support that search. Jessica McMaster with Scripps News Kansas City has the reaction now from the paper's owner.
You cannot let bullies win. Cannot let bullies win. And eventually a bully will cross a line to the point that it becomes so egregious that other people come around and support it.
Within the hour of the county attorney ordering the release of equipment back to Marion County Record, the newspaper's owner, Eric Meyer, tells members of the press he feels vindicated.
Someone said that it was refreshing to be able to deal with an adult, and I think that may be an appropriate line to use.
He's referring to Kansas Bureau of Investigations taking over as lead agency on the case. Records obtained by the I-Team reveal Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody sought the warrant. The alleged criminal act? Identity theft, stemming from a reporter looking into a tip on someone's driving record. This weekend, Cody released a statement on Facebook after the raid saying the justice system would be vindicated.
Oh, we're celebrating.
But it's a mess that in many ways can't be cleaned up.
My mother died, very frustrated by this.
The staff, he says, also mistreated during the raid. And I heard a police officer reading Miranda rights to one of your employees.
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, if I employed criminals, it would have been expected, but I don't. It's inconceivable of a journalist being read their Miranda rights for doing their job.
On Tuesday, we stopped by the police department to speak with Chief Cody. He immediately referred us to KBI.
But KBI says that they weren't the one who issued the warrant. So can you tell me why, instead of issuing a subpoena, you raided
KBI
the
will
place?
be angry at me if I start talking about their case at this point.
A long 5 days for staff here at the Record, whose means for publishing were taken away.
We dredged up 2 old Windows XP computers.
They got their stories in
I've averaged about 2 hours of sleep a day.
by getting their weekly paper out in time.
But the team came together. I mean, the thing is, this is a worthwhile cause.
The paper's regulars coming through the door, one after another, to grab their copy of this historical release. Seized, but not silenced.
It just was that important that we not be deterred.
And that was Jessica McMaster there reporting for us. So the couple, famously known for their relationship with former NFL player Michael Orr, wants to end their conservatorship. A lawyer for Sean and Leanne Toohey say that they plan to consent to an order to end it. Orr, whose life was portrayed in the movie The Blind Side, is claiming that the Tooheys tricked him into thinking the conservatorship was part of an adoption process. The Tooheys' lawyer denies those claims, and he joined our friends on Court TV to share their reaction.
The litigation came as a true shock to the Tooheys, and they're clearly devastated. As it relates to when this started, there's been efforts by Mr. Orr to obtain money from the Tooheys in the past year or so. Mr. Parise is more familiar with that than I, but I understand it's been going on for over a year. Now, you might know that Mr. Orr wrote a book in 2011 called I Beat the Odds. In that book, he acknowledged several times that there was a conservatorship and not an adoption. So I don't know how he's going to square that, but that's going to be an issue.
Orr is also claiming he didn't receive a dime from the Blind Side movie, which grossed nearly $310 million. But Toohey's lawyers say that each family member received an estimated $100,000, including Orr. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, a 91-year-old math wizard is back at it again after brain surgery.
I could eat, but someone had to feed me. And that was probably the only activity that I did.
Now she's ready to pick up her wand and grant some wishes for the next generation. We'll have her story next.
Behind the nightmares of war, hide simple motivations.
An immediate concern is theft of grain.
Scripps News and our partners at Bellingcat follow the costs and profits of the war in Ukraine, tracking the hidden network of Russian cargo ships, smuggling precious resources from occupied lands. Scripps News and Bellingcat present Russia's Ghost Fleet, Sunday night at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News.
This is an important message for the millions of Medicare recipients covered under your state's Medicaid. Medicare and Medicaid give you some benefits, but there are Medicare Advantage plans available with even more benefits and savings. Call the number on your screen and get a free Medicare benefits review to see if you qualify. A licensed insurance agent is standing by to take your call.
Just call 800-981-2945 now.
Some Medicare Advantage plans may include dental, vision, and hearing coverage, $0 copays for prescription drugs, and an annual allowance to spend on groceries, rent, and utilities for those who qualify. Plus, some plans may include lots of doctors and hospitals, all in-network. You don't get these benefits automatically. Call now and get a free, no-obligation benefits review.
Just call 800-981-2945 now. That's 800-981-2945.
Plus, certain beneficiaries may qualify based on income verification to enroll in their state-based Medicare savings program. That can add up to $164 back to their Social Security check every month. Call the number on your screen to see if you qualify for this state-based program. A licensed insurance agent is standing by to take your call.
Just call 800-981-2945 now.
Medicare and Medicaid give you some benefits, but there are Medicare Advantage plans available with even more benefits and savings. Plus, some plans may include lots of doctors and hospitals all in-network. Plans may include dental, vision, and hearing coverage, $0 copays for prescription drugs, and an annual allowance to spend on groceries, rent, and utilities for those who qualify. Plus, you may be eligible for a plan with free transportation. Remember, you don't get these benefits automatically. Call now and get a free, no-obligation benefits review.
Just call 800-981-2945 now. That's 800-981-2945.
How can a photo become a vibrant part of your home? When you go to tryfracture.com and print your images directly on glass. Get beautiful depth and clarity on a sleek frameless print that's easy to hang and looks incredible in any space. Go to tryfracture.com now to save 20% on glass prints.
Female hair thinning is so common, but I see it every day in my chair. Women don't want another supplement for it. They want a solution. That's when it's time for Hers. They offer doctor-trusted options for thicker, fuller hair. It starts with their free online hair quiz. Then you share some info about your health history, and a medical provider can recommend a personalized treatment for you. Through Hers, you can see regrowth results in as few as 3 to 6 months.
And that's like before your next haircut.
Take the hair quiz today at forhers.com.
Scripps News and our partners at Bellingcat track the hidden network of Russian cargo ships smuggling precious resources from occupied lands. Russia's Ghost Fleet, Sunday night at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News.
Well, for decades, Dolores Spencer helped students soar in math. She's faced some serious challenges during her 91 years, but she says that she is not putting her pencil down anytime soon. Zach Dahlheimer with Scripps News Norfolk shares her story.
There has to be an order, right?
They say age is just a number.
An A.
For Dolores Spencer, at 91, she has an answer to the equation behind her longevity.
The secret is being active, eating well, and worshiping God. We're still looking for multiplication. My theory is if you don't use it, you're going to lose it.
For decades, she's taught and tutored math for students in Hampton Roads and around the world.
That's just my love. Can you see this? I love to see the light come on. Welcome to Mrs. Spencer's Math Lab.
I first told you about Mrs. Spencer 3 years ago, doing regular tutoring on her Facebook page, Mrs. Spencer's Math Lab.
Fractions are your friend.
Tutoring students at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic.
I really had been sentimental about this room.
I love how much she loves math.
One student she tutored was Jaden Wilson from Texas. Wilson says Spencer helped her through middle and high school before getting numerous college acceptances and scholarships.
It's just so rare to find a combination of both, someone who knows how to teach math and honestly loves it.
But almost 2 years ago, her tutoring came to a halt when she says she fell and underwent brain surgery.
I was really a baby after that surgery, meaning I could do nothing.
She spent last year recovering and relearning how to walk, talk, and do basic functions.
I could eat, but someone had to feed me. And that was probably the only activity that I did. I'm just so blessed because I had many, many miracles. So instead of 4 divided by 2 now, what is the answer?
And while she's unsure about going back to tutoring on Facebook, she says she still wants to tutor students near and far and has no plans of stopping anytime soon.
I have been saying for years that I'm going to live to at least 100. And I know that I can only do that if the Lord allowed.
Wow, what an inspiration. And that was Zach Dahlheimer reporting there for us. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. For the audience leaving us right now, your local programming is up next. And don't forget, you can always check us out online. That address is scripsnews.com. Now, if you are staying with us, we have much more news headed your way right here on Scripps News Live. Don't forget, I will be back with you at 3 p.m. Eastern. We're back after this.